Who is Dr. York? Okay, so, man, that's a big question. Very simple, but big question. Dr. York is the physical body born of a mother and father here on planet Earth, okay, whose vessel is being utilized as the person in this day and time that has been spoken about for many, many years, for thousands of years, in fact, 24,000 years, who is to come in what people refer to as the end of the world, to come and give us and renew our history. He's doing that because the being known as Yanun, okay, has incarnated into his physical being, right? And that's the being that has access to 76 trillion years of knowledge. He's the being that's been known over the last 24,000 years, and specifically in the last 6,000 years by many names, such as, depending on where you're coming from, what culture or what walk of life, what even religion perhaps, right? So if we were walking backwards from the youngest monotheistic religion, he's the being referred to in the book, the Quran, as Al-Khadir. Okay, that's Khidir, okay? And he's referred to in the book as the green one, okay? The color green is very synonymous with health, healing, nature, etc. If you were going back to the next youngest religion, in terms of the monotheistic religions, you're going to go to Christianity from 2,000 years ago. And in that book, he's referred to as the Archangel Michael, okay? And then if you go further back to the Old Testament, or really the Torah, the 5 books of Moses, which people call the Old Testament, he is known in that book by the title of Melchizedek, okay, or Malachi Zadok. So it depends on the culture, it depends on the title that he's being described as. If you went backwards further to the Sumerian doctrine, where, you know, the kind of versions that you're using today were kind of plagiarized or drafted from, he will be known as Murdoch, or even Ningishzida. If you went into the Greek and how they refer to him, they know him as Hermes. Some refer to him as Thoth. And if you went further backwards to our culture, ancient times, and people will say, you know, the Egyptian or the dynasties, pre-dynastic, Kemet, different names that are referred to in that time and culture. He's known as Tahuti, okay, the great scribe, the one that is the scribe. He writes down all the knowledge and all the information, all the formulas, all the, you know, the major information on the planet Earth was written by him. And he has a lot of sacred writings, such as the Emerald Tablets, the sacred records of Tahuti, and many, many scrolls. So the question sounds simple, but this being is known throughout time, cultures, by many titles, and the titles are describing the job that he has to do, and he's the one that comes every 24,000 years to renew everything. And the prophecies, they talk about him coming, and when he comes, like, all false things will perish because he's coming to give you truth. He's the one that opened the seventh seal, yeah, in the year 1970 AD, because again, he's spoken of in the books of Revelation, dealing with, you know, the hour, okay, which is symbolic of, really, when you say hour, you're talking about 60, as in 60 minutes make, you know, an hour, but it's really a symbolic breakdown of 30 years, the first half hour mentioned, and that's from the year 1970 to the year 2000, the last 6,000 years of the spell of six ether that we've been under. So when I gave you the times for these various monotheistic religions, I mentioned 1400 years ago for Islam, 2000 years for the New Testament, or the what they call the New Testament or Christianity, and then I gave you 4,000. It's really 4004, but we kind of round it off to 4,000, and you add that going backwards from the year 2000. So we're counting 2,000 years going backwards from 1 AD. So if you came from 1 AD coming to 2000 AD, but if you went backwards, you count one going backwards to 4,000 BC or BCE. So you add the two together, you get 6,000 years. So that 6,000 years is the last of the 4 quarters of 6,000 years. So the cycles, look out for a video we've got coming that goes into this in more detail. But if you started the cycle, think about it like a clock, yeah? And you're right at the top where the 12 would be. And the clock, although we count this way, as in the seconds, so you get the lowest measurement of time is seconds, yeah, they say. So 60 seconds make a minute, 60 minutes make an hour, and then you keep going to 24 hours make a day, 365 days make a year. And as you keep going, that's how you're doing the cycle of time. Eventually, you're going to get to 24,000 years. I mean, before you get to that, you have like the Jubilee and the century and all that kind of stuff, right? But if you kept going for 24,000 years, you will get to that point. But what we do is we go the other way. Because remember, the devil makes things confusing by going against God, right? So counter God, or anti-Christ, or anti, going against, right? So we go the other way. So if you started from the top where the 12 is, and you were coming this way, and you took that circle, because circle represents completion, right? That's why we say circle or cycle. The word circle and cycle are synonymous. So if you took a circle, which is representative of completion, or 360 degrees, if you put a cross in the middle to break it into 4 quarters, each one of those quarters will be 6,000 years each. So when you go first quadrant or quarter, it's like 6,000, 6,000, 6,000, 6,000, but it's made up of, if you start from the top, a sun cycle, a moon cycle, a sun cycle, then a moon cycle. So what's happening now, and if you took those 6,000 and divided them up, again, think about it like a cake, and you're cutting the pieces, yeah? If you divide each one of those quarters into thirds, so you're going to get 2,000, 2,000, 2,000 to give you that 6,000, right? And you do the same for the next one and the next one. This last 6,000 year, if you count the first 2,000 years and then the second 2,000 year and the last 2,000 year, is where we came to the year 2000, which was the end of the 24,000 year cycle, and a new one is starting, and then it just does the same thing again. So what happens in the new cycle is that everything is made clear. All knowledge that was hidden, with the seventh seal being open, any question, anything you have, this being is here to answer those questions, to raise our consciousness and to transform us, okay, as the Nagaru or the Negroid race, and anybody else on the planet who would learn and benefit from this information, to transfer you back to being the gods and goddesses that you're supposed to be, excuse me, to be. Now, Some people in religions will say, oh, that's blasphemous to say you are God. But in the quotes, it tells you in Psalms 82:6 that you are gods, but children of the Most High, you see? And even in Exodus 7:1, Moses was made a god unto the pharaohs, you see? I think also in, is it Matthew or John 10:34, it explains again that you are gods, you see? So sometimes people are ignorant because when you say God, it's not saying you are, you know, think of a word, what we say in our language or in our culture known as pa'ut, which is all, or the all, because it's encompassing, it's hard to put into word. We just say pa'ut, because that's a vibration that we all are a part of. Okay, so there's so much I could go into in explaining who he is and who he's not. But I guess if you elaborate or want to know more, we can go into it. So when you see what he has done, the works, the evidence of what he has done, not just talking in terms of the publications, there's no one that has authored as many books about every subject you can possibly conceive on the planet, right? Still living, and that's over 1,000 books. And not just books, but audio tapes and video and lectures and, you know, like pamphlets and all kinds of information that has been poured to the world, explaining everything and translating and breaking down from the original languages. So he's the one that taught us as student teachers, and it's each one teach one. So we are sharing what we know and do our best to answer questions about anything that you would like to know more about, you know. So I hope, or I, you know, ask the ancestors to guide anyone who would like to know, and that helps you in some way.